My name is Sarah Limpersky. I'm one of our associate directors here at Columbia Business School. I work very closely with our dual degree students, and particularly with the JD MBA program. Today, we'll be covering our three-year JD MBA, going a little bit of details about the program, the offerings, application process, all of that, and we'll save plenty of time at the end for any questions. Please feel free to utilize the Q&A box as we go along. We will be keeping an eye on that and can answer questions as we continue through the presentation. Please note, though, it's possible some of the questions you ask may be answered along the way, but if not, we will save some time for Q&A at the end as well. But before we jump into it, I just want to introduce my colleagues as well. So Ryan, maybe if you want to kick it off, and then we'll kick it to Jill.
Absolutely. Pleasure to meet you all. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ryan LaMantia, Assistant Director of the admissions in the admissions office, covering our three-year JD MBA program. So, Jill.
Great. Thank you all for joining us this morning. My name is Jill Casal. I'm the Director of Admissions at Columbia Law School, and among my suite of responsibilities here includes the 3- and 4-year JD MBA programs. So I'm really excited to talk to you about this program today.
Great. Well, we'll go ahead and jump on into it. I'm going to start with kind of talking a little bit about why Columbia Business School. You know, one of the biggest perks of the JD MBA is that you will have access to both schools and really get to be part of a robust institution on the Columbia Business School side and on the law school. So first and foremost, kind of, why Columbia Business School? What, opportunities are you going to have available? The first thing that I always like to highlight is the community. We have really innovative and bright and collaborative students here at CBS with really that put an emphasis on improving and accelerating and all of that. I always get the question a lot during interviews or when I'm on the road, what really makes CBS unique? And I would definitely say it's the community. Students are really driven to help each other out and to support each other through their endeavors. Another perk is the training. You're going to be able to immerse yourself in the world of business. You'll be able to put a lot of theory into practice by being in boardrooms, going to trading floors, access to a lot of hands-on experience. I think the training kind of goes into the next point with faculty. We have a lot of faculty that are working while also teaching. So you're really going to see what it means to put theory to practice by having these professionals in the classroom, letting you know what went on the trade floor that day and, what experience they're going to be able to bring to you and educate you on. And then last but not least is the network. You're going to be part of a really robust network of over 52,500 alumni across the entire globe that range from entrepreneurs and leading finance, folks and all of that as well. So I think that's a really big perk, as well as that you will gain access to that. Our alumni are highly engaged with our current students by coming to campus, volunteering, in our career management center, and a lot of other ways that you're able to get involved and engage with them as well. So those are just some of the highlights of what really makes, the business school unique. And I will turn it over to Jill to kind of talk about similar themes that are available to you at the law school.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sarah. So to mirror what Sarah said about the business school, along the themes of community, training, faculty, and network at Columbia Law School, our students are really, really engaged global citizens through student organizations, through their work on journals, through their inquisitive nature in the classroom, through their student activism just in general. They are really, really engaged. When you talk to a Columbia Law School student, and throughout my career here, I've worked with countless students, and they universally say that the best part of their experience is engaging with the other students. Similar to what Sarah said on the business school side, their classmates are really, really engaged thinkers. The training that you're going to get is not only the black letter law from our full-time faculty, but our full-time faculty are really engaged for their groundbreaking research, teaching, and civic engagement. They work alongside our students as research in their research projects. They hire our students as TAs and RAs. They're frequently called upon as experts. And you get to be a part of that. It's also a very progressive curriculum in that we bring in, given our location in New York City, we're able to call upon practitioners here in the city who serve as adjuncts. And so you're doing a lot of experiential hands-on learning that is really, really, that really complements that black letter law learning that you're doing in the classroom. It's dynamic, it's engaging, it's active. And then very similar to the business school network, we have a community of more than 29,000 alumni around the globe from Columbia Law School. They are incredibly engaged. They come to campus. They talk to students. They are involved with career counseling. They are involved in all aspects and really here for you and with you throughout your journey. Eligibility. We get this question a lot. How am I eligible? You apply through using a joint application through the business school, Columbia Law School's business school application portal. So even though it's a dual degree with both schools, you're actually applying through Columbia Business School. This is for the 3-year JD MBA. If you are a first-year student at Columbia Law School wishing to apply, there is a method to do that. We'll talk a little bit more about that later as well. But you have to apply by the round 1 deadline, which is actually already passed. So if you're interested in that, or if you're thinking about coming here and you're not quite sure and you think maybe I'll just apply to the JD program and think about this later, know that the round 1 deadline happens in very, very early September. So that's something that you want to just keep on your radar. One other thing to know is you must start the 3-year program at the law school. There's no exception to that. You must start at the law school. And so to be eligible for either, you must hold the equivalent of a first qualifying degree. And there is a preference in some, given the nature of this program, for some work experience, but it's not required either. The program benefits. Why might you do a 3-year JD MBA? You can complete both a JD and an MBA in just 3 years, as opposed to the regular 5. A normal JD obviously is 3 years, and an MBA is 2, so that's 5 years. You get the accessibility of the resources of both of the schools, which is really wonderful at the same time. You get to network with alumni in both fields simultaneously. You have 2 summers to explore opportunities. So you would spend 1 summer exploring law opportunities and 1 summer exploring business opportunities. The other real opportunity is that you get to jumpstart your career. You get to push yourself forward ahead of time. So, you get to enter the workforce a year sooner than you would otherwise. Than other dual degree holders. The downside is that you have fewer opportunities for exploration because it's so condensed. Your program, your curriculum is going to be more limited. It's going to be more limited. It's going to be definitely more intensive, but because of the coursework demands. But the upside is you enter the workforce sooner. The other part is you have 1 less year of housing costs being on the campus. So the tuition costs are the same for 3 or 4 years, but the housing costs are less. Ryan.
Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about the application and the overview of it. So as previously mentioned, it is a joint application. So you will be filling out 1 application and applying to both schools at the same time. So a little streamlined so it's to your benefit. So applicants, in addition to completing our application hosted by Columbia Business School, you will need to fill out a supplemental form that goes directly to Columbia's Law School, and that is through lsac.org. So keep that in mind when completing your application through our website. The LSAC, the CAS report the supplemental form will include your undergraduate transcripts as well as some testing scores as well. Please ensure that your applications are submitted by our deadline. Some of these components do take time in order to get processed, such as that CAS report that can take upwards of 7 to 10 days. So keep that in mind when you're looking at our deadlines. Also, letters of recommendation may take some time. So just keep all those things in mind when you're looking to apply either early decision or regular decision. And so to give you a sense of our early decision deadline, as you can see there, it is November 1st. And that would be a binding commitment to attend this program if admitted in our early decision round. And then our regular decision deadline is not until February 15th of next year. And as previously mentioned too, there is a pathway for students who are 1Ls who are just in the JD program. You will need to apply directly to the business school by our round 1 deadline. Unfortunately, as previously mentioned, that has currently passed though. So here's a little overview of the components that we're actually looking for. Again, the joint application, just want to harp on that. So do not apply to both schools individually. Apply through this joint application hosted by the business school. You will also need to fill out that CAS report, as I mentioned, through the LSAC, and that's the supplemental form. We do require a GMAT or a GRE. Absolutely no preference as to what you do submit to us. And here I want to harp on that we do not require the LSAT for this program. However, if you do take the LSAT, you will need to report that score to us, but only a GMAT or GRE is required in order to be considered. We also require 2 letters of recommendation. The preference is that one is an academic reference and one is a professional reference as well. When it comes to your resume, we're really looking for a professional resume that goes over your educational background, your previous work experience as well, and really get into what it is that you've done in that role, what kind of impact that you've made. We'll look at we'll require any academic transcripts that you do have from your undergraduate, any graduate programs that you have attended as well. And there are 2 essay requirements. I won't cover them in extreme detail here. They're posted on our website, but to give you a sense, one of the essays is around why is this program in line with your goals and what do you hope to accomplish after graduating from it? And the second is really revolving around leadership and how have you taken on some kind of leadership role in your professional or academic background. We also do require an interview. Those are by invitation only, however. So to give you a sense of our timeline and deadlines here, these are for this current cycle, but if you are here thinking of applying to this program in the future, these will be similar, but just always keep an eye on our website in case dates do change. So the application is currently open, and it will typically open in mid to late August of the upcoming cycle year. And to give you a sense of the testing requirements, if you haven't taken your GRE or GMAT exam yet, October 15th is really the latest date that you can take that if you are interested in applying for our early decision deadline, which is again November 1st. February 1st will be that last testing date if you're interested in applying by our regular decision deadline on February 15th. And then February 15th is also the recommended suggested deadline for our financial aid application, which you can fill out. Early decisions and regular decisions, admissions decisions are released on a rolling basis. The deposit deadline for our early decision deadline will be December 30th, and that's a $2,000 non-refundable tuition deposit. And for our regular admissions, that will be no later than decisions released no later than April 30th, and then tuition deposit released on May 1st.
Other notable things, I mentioned earlier that if you are a 1L student, so in your first year of the JD program, you can apply to enter the 3-year JD MBA, but the timeline is really tight. You must do it by round 1 of the business school application program cycle, which is early September. So it's actually already passed for this year. There are no exceptions to this. It's just because of the condensed nature. We need to get those applications in soon. So if you are applying to the JD program, you want to make sure and you get in and then you decide, oh, I want to be considered for the MBA. There is another option, but you want to get on that pretty early. So even before you arrive at the law school. And because the 3-year JD MBA must begin at the law school, students in the first year of the business school or in your 1L or 2L year at Columbia Law, you can apply for consideration to our 4-year JD MBA. So that is another option, and we outline that on our website as well. So if you miss the opportunity, if you're currently enrolled as a student at either school to do the 3-year, we have the 4-year program. And as I mentioned before, there are definite benefits to that program too.
Jill, can I just pop in really quick and say something? There was a
100%,
question in
yeah.
the chat, and I just want to clarify before we go too far. Someone asked, can I apply round 1, but not early decision? Or, like, what are the kind of, I think there's a little confusion. So just to like kind of lay it out clear, if you're interested in the 3-year program and you're not, currently enrolled at the law school, you want to apply prospectively. We have early decision or regular decision for the joint 3-year JD MBA. If you're someone that is currently enrolled, there's not really an option at this moment to do the 3-year if you're a 1L, but just generally speaking, if you end up at the law school first and then want to apply to the MBA program at a later date, that's when you would take into consideration those rounds. But early decision and regular decision is for the 3-year JD MBA joint program. So sorry, I just wanted to pop in and say that.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Yeah. That's super helpful. I appreciate the clarification.
Yes, great. All right, go right on ahead into the curriculum, Jill.
Wonderful. Okay, so in the 3-year JD MBA, first year, as I mentioned, is year 1. It's residence at the law school. You are a full-on first-year JD student, and you participate in the foundation curriculum, which is civil procedure, con law, contracts, criminal law. You do the foundation year moot court. You take legal methods 1 and 2, legal practice workshop 1 and 2. Property, torts, and then you can take a 1L elective course. Each first year JD student takes an elective, and a lot of our JD MBAs will frequently take corporations because it's often one of the options that is available to them.
Great, sorry, to unmute myself. And then in year 2 is where you will officially matriculate into the business school. So just to kind of note, you're not going to really have full access to anything at the business school yet during your first year. You'll be fully in residence at the law school. And then starting year 2 is when you'll start to kind of gain access to everything at the business school. So we have what's called our core curriculum, and these are the core classes that you will take during your first semester. One of them will happen in your second semester, operations management. But after that, in your second semester, you can start taking, electives in the business school. We'll go into a little bit more detail later about some cross-listed courses, a plethora of cross-listed courses, things like that. But year 2 is when you will fully matriculate at the business school. You'll be part of what we call our cluster system. So it's about 60 to 70 students that you take these core classes with. Within your cluster will be a variety of students from many different backgrounds. We don't cluster all necessarily the JD MBAs, quote unquote, together. You'll then gain access. We'll go into a little bit detail later about our career management center, the clubs, organizations, things like that as well. So as noted at the bottom, then after kind of doing the core, you will need to do 12 or more credits in business elective courses. And as we kind of said, some additional electives at the law school may begin to satisfy some of those other JD requirements. We'll go into more detail in a moment about the cross-listed. But technically only year 2 is in full residence at the business school. Year 3, I'll let Jill kind of go into, but you're back at the law school.
Yeah, and between year 2 and 3 is when you would do a summer. You might summer at a law firm, or you may do something in business. That's really up to you, and you would have to decide whether you want to do a law summer or a business summer. And you'd work with the careers team since you're at the business school at that point, you could work with either careers office at that point. Year 3, you're back in residence at the law school, and you take a combination of law and business courses, and you complete all of the remaining JD degree requirements. And further on, we will talk about what exactly those are. I think it's actually on the next slide. Sarah, if you want to go there.
Yep.
So I'll move ahead. You can choose from a wide range of electives to satisfy the requirements, and some of them actually satisfy both degrees. So the way that the curriculum has been structured is such that it enables you to, it makes it a really interdisciplinary degree in both business and law. So for the JD, you have to complete 71 law credits, including the entire first year foundation curriculum. You have to complete a course in professional responsibility, a course in legislation and regulation, at least 6 points of experiential coursework. A lot of our courses are coded as experiential. I talked a little bit about that before, but they have a practical nature to them. So if you look at our curriculum guide online, you can see that the course is coded as experiential. So it might be like one of our workshops or simulation type courses. You have the major and minor writing requirement, and all students who graduate from Columbia Law School must complete a minimum of 40 hours of pro bono service in order to graduate.
Great. And then as noted, I realized I kind of said it incorrectly before. Those 12 credits are the ones that you would take in that second year. You would do the 18 credits of core and then 12 credits in your second semester. But in total, you need to do 27 credits of elective work to fulfill the 45 business credits that are needed for the JD MBA. So like I said, you'll do 18 credits of core that first semester, and partly into the second semester, start taking some of those electives. And then even when you're back in residence at the law school in your third year is when you can wrap up the rest of those business electives. We'll go into it in a moment here with a lot of these cross-listed courses. So there's a lot of opportunity to make sure that you get all of those requirements finished. Just one thing we always like to note, people come from different backgrounds and have different levels of expertise in things. We created the core curriculum as a way to kind of, quote unquote, level the playing field and allow all students to kind of come in and obtain the same knowledge, of the world of business with the core curriculum. But maybe you've been working as an accountant for a few years, or, have some different expertise in some of those core, areas. We do allow exemption exams for some of the core classes. Only 2 of them are not exemptable. Is that a word? Are not able to be exempted. So you can take an exemption exam and, replace that class with a different elective. It doesn't reduce the number of credits that you need to take at the business school, but will just allow you to maybe free up your schedule for some other areas of things that you might be interested in. But I'll have Jill kind of quickly, there's a lot of words and scary detail on here. But
yeah, I will absolutely not list every single course, but what this does is this just gives you a sense. At both of our schools, we offer a tremendous curriculum. And given the nature of the breadth and depth of the offerings that we have something that's called cross-listed courses. So these are Columbia Law School courses that are cross-listed at CBS, at Columbia Business School. What does that mean? It means that you can take this course at Columbia Law School and it will also count toward the MBA degree. So you have an advisor at the law school that actually is me. And then you have somebody at the business school who will work with you, and we will make sure that you meet all of the degree requirements. We work together to make sure that you meet the degree requirements. And so some of these courses, like for example, I'm just going to go with the very first one on the list. If you take advanced bankruptcy, it will count toward your JD and it'll also count toward your MBA. Similarly, on the next page, you can see on the next slide, you can see these are Columbia Business School courses that the law faculty has said, yes, these can count toward the Columbia Law School curriculum. For students, I will caveat this is for students who are enrolled in the JD MBA program. So these can count toward the JD degree as if they were law school classes. So this enables you to complete the program in the timeline given. You can also see a lot of them, we actually have courses that are similarly named. Sometimes they're actually taught by or co-taught by faculty as well from both schools, and they work really closely together. And then moving on to career options, I'll start and then pass it over to Ryan. You can see the career paths that people choose. They vary. Some people go into law firms, others go into straight up business, and some do a combination of the two. At the law school, our Office of Private Sector Careers works with our students individually, and they connect you with alumni to explore opportunities in the private sector. They have a wealth of career-related resources, programming, professional development opportunities. They have recruitment programs, and you as a student can participate in any or all, whatever you wish to do. Ryan?
Great. Thank you, Jill. And once you matriculate into the business school, so in your second year is when you would be granted access to all of the resources that Columbia Business School has to offer. And that includes the Career Management Center, as well as the Office of Student Affairs, which help facilitate career resources, job posting, various events that go on campus, all to help you network, as well as find potential employment for your summer or post-graduation. So once you matriculate into the business school, you will be able to participate in our on-campus recruiting for the following summer after your second year, as well as any post-graduation opportunities that you want to try and pursue as well.
Great. And that was all that we had for you at this time. There's a lot of questions in the chat, a few that I've marked for us to answer live, but just want to note if you do have any follow-up questions, please reach out to us. Any kind of application-based questions, please feel free to utilize the apply inbox at the business school since we host the application. But any other general questions about, either or, you can utilize either email, and especially questions regarding CAS report, things like that. Please feel free to reach out to the law school. But we had a few questions. I can kind of queue up a few for us here. Jill, I wanted to ask, there was somebody that said, has the supplemental form for JD MBA been released yet? They weren't able to find it and just wanted to know because they only saw the one for JD.
Yeah, fantastic question. That is going to be, it will be live early next week. It is not yet up. So you are not seeing things or missing something. It's not up yet. So it will be up early next week.
There was a question about how many three-year JD MBA students are in each class. I can take that, and Jill or Ryan, if you want to add anything, it is definitely a smaller cohort. And I think it's a little tricky sometimes because it's not, we have the joint and then we have the 3-year with 1Ls, but then we also have the 4-year. So kind of in total of, who's in the JD MBA program at one time is sometimes, it fluctuates, but probably around 20 to 25 students, in total that are going through some sort of JD MBA path. Jill, not sure if you want to add anything there.
Yeah, I think that's right. We have a really active student, our JD MBA students actually just created a JD MBA student organization here at that's housed here at the law school, and we are really focusing on cohort building among that group as well. The Richard Paul Richmond Center for Law and Business is really actively engaged with our JD MBA students too, and puts on a number of events throughout the year, connects them with alumni. So there are lots of opportunities for our students to connect with each other, connect with alumni, and engage with faculty too, who are also involved in the program.
Great. And then Ryan, maybe you could take this question. If an applicant is not accepted into, the JD MBA program, do they worded of, if they're not accepted into one program while applying, do they get rejected from both, or are they evaluated independently? Could you maybe kind of go through how that process works, if that makes sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm looking at the same questions.
Perfect.
So if applying to the 3-year JD MBA program through this joint application, you will be evaluated jointly as well. So unfortunately, if one school does not feel that you are the right fit for the program, you will be denied for the 3-year JD MBA program. However, if one school does feel that you might be the right fit for their individual program, we would proactively reach out to you, discuss your options in pursuing that program as a standalone.
There was a question about, as a reapplicant, what are maybe some things that we look to in regard to growth, improvement, maybe outside of just a new test score or additional work experience? if either of you want to take that from, each perspective, feel free.
Sure. I think I'll start there, and feel free to jump in, Jill. I think those
Sure.
are two important things that we'll consider as far as improved test scores or additional work experience that you have, additional responsibilities in your current job, any leadership roles that you've taken on are very important to us. But also outside of those settings, we want to know what you're involved in outside of your professional work experience as well. So extracurriculars that you're involved in, any kind of volunteer work, things like that are also important in our eyes.
I would agree with everything Ryan said, and I just want to remind you, it's a holistic application process, and every year is different. Every applicant pool is different. So, it's really everything is looked at with fresh eyes each year. So, just keep that in mind too.
Jill, I see there were a couple questions you wanted to answer, so I'll let
Yeah, and I
you
can do
take
those together.
Yeah, perfect.
What are some examples of pro bono service that individuals within the JD MBA program complete? That's a great question. They're vast. We have an office at the law school that focuses, it's the Office of Public Interest Public Service, and they help students with pro bono, but students work in direct services, public interest organizations here in the city. They will do work just on a volunteer basis while they're here, and that our pro bono office or pro bono team will send out opportunities. Each spring break, there are spring break caravans, groups of students who travel together to perform pro bono work, which are really exciting opportunities. That's a great way to complete your pro bono service. So some of them, I say travel, some of them are actually local, but that's another great way to do it. And so that's something you can do. The second question is the 1L summer free to do law internships, or is that when we begin business courses? You do not begin your business courses during the 1L summer. You are free to do law internships during your 1L summer, and that is what a lot of our JD MBA students will do. You would work with our career services team, and they would help you with that.
Great, thank you. Let's see. Someone asked a question about financial aid for international students. Jill, I'm not sure if you want to take that one.
Yeah, I can do that. Financial aid for international students. You are welcome to apply for, we offer merit-based aid and we offer need-based aid. It's a different process. You should go to both of our financial aid websites. If you're applying to the 3-year JD MBA, you apply to the law school financial aid through the law school financial aid office to start. That's where the financial aid process begins. So you really should review the procedures for international students on the law school site. And we're happy to talk to you about that more. They would absolutely be happy to talk to you about that more.
Great. There's a question here which I can start with taking, and then if anybody wants to add anything, as a splitter applicant who has a lower GPA but a good GRE score, what role do personal and professional growth come into play throughout the evaluation process? Are there ways you can highlight other aspects to strengthen application? So yes, Ryan went through that list of what we require, but we really do take a holistic approach, and each school is taking a holistic approach. It's a joint effort. So we didn't kind of go through it in this, but we kind of consider 3 different buckets. We consider the academic, which would be your test scores and your that's what I'm looking for. Sorry, undergraduate GPA. We also take into consideration professional, experiences. What are your goals? What are you hoping to accomplish with this, dual degree? What have you already done? And how is that going to help get you to where you want to be? And then also the personal, what things have you been engaged in? What are you excited to engage in during your time at both schools? What kind of commitment do you have to community and leadership, as we were saying in that other essay? So absolutely, I think there's a lot of other ways that you can highlight, and I wouldn't let a low GPA, quote unquote, deter you from applying, and definitely make sure that you're highlighting ways that you're going to be able to show up in these spaces, highlighting the professional experience that you've had already and how that's going to really enhance and what you're going to bring into your, kind of cohorts and communities as well. So I think that there's a lot of different ways that you can frame things to really make sure that you're, really a holistic and well-rounded applicant. Jill, I'm not sure if there's anything you want to add there.
No, I think you answered that beautifully.
Great. Let's see. There's a question here, which I'm kind of happy to take also about early decision. You know, if the GRE score has to be reported by November 1st, can you take the test like the day before? So we give that October 15th, the kind of date, as more of a guideline. I answered this earlier, you know, because we know it takes some time for test scores to get processed. We only require an unofficial test score to be uploaded through the application, but you know, sometimes we know that in order to even get the unofficial score, it may take some time. So we highly recommend you do not wait until the day before, because you cannot submit an application without a test score. So if you take it on Halloween and the deadline is November 1st and you don't have any proof of your test score, there's not really a way that we would be able to, you know, take your application into consideration for early decision. We know that sometimes when you take the tests, if you do it online, there might be a screenshot or things that you can take of the you know, score report that suffices, but really just make sure that you're taking the test in time that you're going to have some sort of score report to be able to upload into the application. Jill, not sure if anything you want to add there.
Again, I don't have anything to add. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, go ahead. I think you had one that you marked.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. There's a question about why is the LSAT not required, and what would a situation be that I should consider taking it and submit an LSAT score? So the LSAT is not required for the JD application either. You can take either the LSAT or the GRE. So the situation in which you should consider taking the LSAT is if it's a situation in which you wish to take the LSAT. It's really a personal decision. I recommend, you know, taking some practice exams, probably for both, and seeing how you do. And you need to make that decision. That's not one we can make for you.
Great. Ryan, maybe you want to take this one. They're currently enrolled in a full-time undergraduate program. Should they have a direct supervisor write a letter of recommendation, or can they have two professors? I know there's been a few questions in the chat kind of about those two letters of recommendation. So if you want to give some insight there.
Happy to share some insight. So I'll reiterate, the preference is that one of the letters of recommendation is an academic and the other being a professional reference. However, we understand that cannot always 100% be the case. And as far as, you know, in the professional landscape, if you are not informing your employer that you are pursuing a degree, you may not want to ask for their letter of recommendation. So in instances like that, we are able to accept two academic references. We are able to accept two professional references as well. But the preference is that it is one of each.
Great, thank you. Quick, just somebody asked if we can get a copy of the slides. I'm not sure if we'll have a copy of the slides uploaded, but we are recording this. This will be available on our websites, so you can definitely go back and reference this at a later date.
I can answer the question.
Yeah.
There's a question about the kind of trips, travel experiences, or even just outings between the JD MBAs as a unique group. As I mentioned earlier, there's a JD MBA student organization that was just created. So while there aren't any unique trips or travel experiences for the JD MBAs, they participate in the same travel experiences, trips, things that the JDs would or the MBA students would. There is this cohort that has been created, and they have their own student organization that plans events uniquely for them. And like I said, we have the Richmond Center, which plans a lot of activities as well, which a lot of our JD MBA students participate in. Those activities are open to others, but a lot of our JD MBA students do get very involved.
Question here kind of again about the LSAT, Jill, maybe you don't mind
Sure.
taking, but I think it just kind of generally goes into test scores. They're planning on taking the LSAT in October for a higher score. Can they still submit it? And how should you know it be reviewed if they submit the application? How will it be reviewed if they submit the application first?
Yeah, so if you submit the application first, what happens is it goes, we get an update for that CAS report. So it will come to us just later. It comes as a CAS update. later on. So if whenever that comes through, it comes through. If you are planning to take it, if you're applying early decision, for example, the sooner you can take it, the better.
And just one thing to note in general of anything that's submitted after, you click anything that's added to your application after you click submit, we cannot guarantee will be taken into consideration. It depends on where we are in the review process and cycle. This is not me discouraging you from doing so. Just note that, it might not be taken into consideration depending on where we are in our process. Question here about how does the JD MBA program support students who are interested in exploring global business or other legal opportunities in emerging markets? Ryan, do you want to talk about Chazen, and then Jill? Yeah.
Absolutely. So Columbia University has the Chazen Institute for Global Business, which you are able to get involved in. And they organize various treks throughout the year where you're able to explore opportunities kind of on a global scale outside of the United States.
Yeah, and at the
That's a high enough level. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
The law school has incredibly rich global curriculum. We have connections with, I mean, the international aspect is interwoven throughout all the different all of our curriculum throughout. So I think right down to we have a really large international student population here too. So nothing is just strictly US based or something. It's all with a global focus. So I think that you'll absolutely find that if you look at even just some of the course descriptions and some of the opportunities through the student organizations and some of our centers and programs. We have numerous academic centers which have a global focus.
Great. There's a question here, Jill, maybe you could take, and I'm happy to pop in with any other additions about, is there credit or public markets investing? Oh, is credit or public markets investing in popular career interests for JD MBAs? Does being in New York City bring any opportunities to explore that?
I think the answer to that is the world is your oyster. You really can explore what you want. Our careers teams are very seasoned at helping you explore opportunities that are of interest to you. And as we noted on the slide deck, we have alumni, a vast alumni network, and who pretty much cover a lot of different areas. I do think being in New York City is a real advantage because it's a hub for law, business, public policy, tech, so many different areas. So there's a lot that you can explore, and there are just a lot of people here. And if the people aren't here, they tend to come through New York at different times. So Columbia University itself attracts a lot of great speakers. So on any given day, you have lots of opportunities to interact with, even just by attending a lecture and meeting people. And so the opportunities for both formal and informal networking are vast.
Mm-hmm. And I can just add, a couple of quick tidbits from the business school perspective, and everything that Jill said, translates as well. As we talked about on the last slide, the Career Management Center is something that you will have access to once you matriculate at the business school. And if you're looking to do kind of maybe those traditional banking or investment banking or other, kind of opportunities, looking to go through that recruitment cycle, they will make sure that you are kept in the loop of what you need to be doing by when to be able to take advantage of when those recruiters are on campus or other things like that. We didn't get into it much in this deck, but there's a lot of clubs and organizations also. I know Jill was talking about the JD MBA, but at both schools, there's a lot of ways to get involved. And I know, at the business school, there's a plethora of professional clubs that there might be interest, and those are great to join because that's sometimes where those opportunities come into play also. They're doing excursions, they're doing networking events, they're doing conferences, hosting those. And those are ways to gain access to those opportunities. And then just the last point that I'll make is the classroom. There's going to be classes that, might align with what you're looking to do and where these areas of interest that you have. I would say take those electives because often our professors are bringing in guest speakers that, are working in those fields as well, and that maybe you can network with them and find an opportunity too. So you will not be bored during your time in the JD MBA program. And as Jill was saying, if there's something you're interested in, because of our location and because of, our name of Columbia, we are able to bring a lot of people in that, you know, are highly interested in working with our students, and you will definitely have those opportunities.
Completely.
Yeah. There was a question here about, and Jill, maybe you can provide some clarity. If the recommenders submitted the letter through the LSAC, do they also submit it through the JD MBA portal? I believe I know the answer, Belle.
They do. Yes, they do. You know, you do not need to submit the letters through LSAC, but you do need to submit them through the JD MBA portal.
Yeah. So it's the opposite. They
It's
will
the
not be
opposite.
required to submit it through LSAC, but
Correct.
it will need to be in the application.
Yes.
And I believe, Jill, just correct me if I'm wrong, because I know that I think with like the JD only form that would be the case, but for the JD MBA, that's something that we have.
That is
have
absolutely correct. So if you're
Yes.
applying only to the JD, you do submit your letters of recommendation through LSAC. But for the JD MBA, you have to submit them through the JD MBA portal. You are not required to submit them through
Yeah.
LSAC.
So make sure you're filling out the correct supplement.
Yes, fill out the correct one.
Perfect. Thank you. Somebody asked if I already have a GRE score. I shouldn't bother taking the LSAT in addition. Short answer is yes. You don't have to take it for this program. If you're interested, just note, you know, we will, as in especially the law school, will look at it if you have taken it. So that's just something to note. If you feel that you need to, but you're not sure if you're going to perform very strong on it, then maybe don't take it. If you've taken it, you know, you will have to report it, but just something to keep in mind. But it's not required whatsoever. GMAT or GRE are. Jill, let me know if I said anything.
Nope, you answered that beautifully.
Someone's asked about a report, employment report specific to JD MBA. We don't have, as of now, one specific to JD MBA. What I always encourage students to do is to utilize the MBA only and the JD only, class reports, employment reports, things like that, to just kind of see where you land. Jill, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, the only thing I can add is just anecdotally, I've seen it really is split. It's pretty much 50-50 in terms of like, you know, half end up in business type roles straight out, half end up in law roles. But I think what would be really more interesting to see is where do people end up 10 years out? And I think that's where we don't necessarily, you know, you have to decide that. I think the benefit of doing this degree is it gives you flexibility long term.
Absolutely. Great. Wow, we answered all the questions. Yeah. We'll stick around for a couple more minutes. Are there any, you know, last minute questions we have? Again, definitely feel free to jot down these emails for any questions that you have that come up as you're working through your applications. We hope to see some of you applying early decision. And, you know, if that's not ready yet for early decision, we will review and regular decision and look forward to, you know, meeting you all through the application.